What's up guys, my name is Jedith, and this video is going to be teaching you exactly how you should be spending your antique bronze bullions in Season 4 as you get them. So the bronze bullions are a currency that you get from doing the awakened raids every week, and you can spend them on specific items from these vendors right in front of me. You're only able to buy weapons, trinkets, and very rare items. Ultimately, you will get to buy everything you need. You'll get 6 total buys if you decide to get all gear and no transmogs or mounts. So the gear itself costs 2 bronze bullions. The transmog over here is 1 bronze bullion, and you can buy the mount for 3. But if you only decide to buy gear, you'll be able to get 6 total items. So there are a few things you have to consider when you're looking to buy some items. The first thing is, what will be the biggest upgrade? Second is, when is that raid that the item comes from available? How likely is it to drop? And will your loot council or whoever is in charge of distributing loot actually give it to you over other people in your raid? Okay, so items to note for Havoc. The first one is the Thorn Caller's Claw from Ember, Council of Dreams. This is just going to be your best weapon in all scenarios, even in AoE. It's going to be a massive upgrade to get early on, and once you get this, you want to pair it with a Storm Slash from Not Good Offensive or a Double Time from Dawn of the Infinites. If you do go for a Double Time, you want to make sure that you're getting a hard mode one. This will be at a higher eye level and actually competitive with other weapons. Early in the season, you can get just a normal Double Time from Mythic 0, but eventually you'll want to upgrade that. Then we have the Seal of Diurna's Chosen. This comes from Vault of the Incarnates from Aranog, the very first boss. It is our best ring by far and highly sought after by most classes, if not all classes. It is a very rare item, so you may not see it drop very often, and it'll be highly competitive to get because, like I said, everybody wants this thing. And now for trinkets, we have the Elementium Pocket Anvil. This is a raid single target only trinket, but very good in those situations. We also have the Cataclysmic Signet Band, and this is the same thing. Raid, single target only, but very good for that specific situation. Then you have the Manic Grief Torch, and it's slightly behind on single target compared to the other two that we just looked at, but that's not accounting for any resets that you might get. So this trinket gets the cooldown reduced when anyone in your raid or your party dies. So you just have to keep that in mind. It's great in Mythic Plus, and honestly, it's just like a really fun trinket to use. And then there's Ashes of the Ember Soul, just an all-around good trinket. It's exceptionally good in Mythic Plus as it lines up with pretty much every metamorphosis because it's a 2-minute cooldown. It's super easy to use. Honestly, it's like everyone's favorite trinket from Season 3, so this one is a no-brainer. And then there's Pips. This one is just an exceptional stat stick for Mythic Plus. In Mythic Plus, you generally want to use 1 on-use trinket and then 1 passive, though you can use Ashes plus Grief Torch. Since Grief Torch doesn't really need to be used inside of your cooldowns, you really only need to make sure you use Grief Torch inside of your initiative buff, which happens every 20 seconds. Now, when it comes to stat sticks, Pips only loses to Whispering Incarnate Icon and the Ominous Chromatic Essence if everyone is also wearing those trinkets to provide the shared stat buffs that they give. Okay, so what order do you need to buy things in? The very first thing that I would buy is the Thorn Caller Claw. This is going to be your biggest upgrade up front, and a crafted weapon doesn't even compare to the damage output of this weapon because of the proc effect on it. Now, we won't get Awakened Emir for 2 weeks or potentially 4 weeks, depending on whatever, release schedule Blizzard decided on. It's unclear at the moment, but this is definitely going to be the best thing you can buy first. And then your second choice should be Seal of Diurna's Chosen. This thing is a must-have, and it will be exceptionally hard to get because so many people want it, and our time in that specific raid is limited. So it's better to just get this one out of the way early so you can focus on other things after that. And then third, you want to get a trinket. So by now you'll have had time in some of the raids and you might have actually looted some of the trinkets that you need. So the order that you buy these may differ depending on what loot you actually got in the raids when you were in there. It also depends on what you're prioritizing. If you're prioritizing getting trinkets for raid, there's going to be certain trinkets for that. If you're prioritizing Mythic Plus, that will also change what trinkets you go for. So if you are prioritizing raid, you're going to aim for the Elementium Pocket Anvil. Now, if you already got the Elementium Pocket Anvil, then you can go for the Cataclysmic Signet Brand or Grief Torch if you just want a little bit more fun. Now, if you're a Mythic Plus enjoyer, definitely want to go for Ashes of the Ember Soul first. This is a no-brainer. You definitely want to get this one as soon as you can. And then after that, just want to fill that second slot. So it'll be Pips or Grief Torch, again, if you just want to have a little bit more fun. Now from there, once you have your weapons and your trinkets, you can then start focusing on some of the other things. So you have the Cloak of the Silent Star. This one is a debatable one because it has 0 stamina on it. You're a little bit more squishy. The proc on it doesn't proc that often, but when it does, you do get a fair amount of secondary stat from it. It's potentially very, very good, but also potentially very, very bad. But there is something that kind of offsets the bad. So you can also look at getting the Seal of Filial Duty, and this is the other very rare ring from Vault of the Incarnates. What this does is gives you an absorb shield, a pretty hefty absorb shield. Whenever you deal fire damage, it has a chance to proc this shield, and it lasts for 6 seconds. So this can kind of offset the lack of stamina from not only just the Cloak of Silent Star, but also your Toxic Thorn foot wraps if you are using those as well. And then we also have the Augury of the Primal Flame. This is also a debatable one. I can go on for a while as to why this is good and why it's also bad. TLDR is this trinket doesn't have any primary stat on it. So when you use this and you see in your damage breakdown that it's doing a large portion of your damage, you also have to consider that because it doesn't have that primary stat on it, the damage of all of your other abilities has been reduced, which is making this trinket look like it's doing a lot more comparatively to your other abilities. The worse you play, the less you press your buttons, the better this trinket is going to look like it's doing. So just keep that in mind. And then there's also the Whispering Incarnate icon. Like I said, this one was super good, but it got nerfed. It was a bit overtuned. Blizzard nerfed it. And at this point, it's really only good and worth using if everyone else in your party is actually using it as well, so you're getting all of the shared secondary stats that it can provide. Otherwise, not the best choice. So now that you know exactly what to spend your bullions on and you want to take your Havoc gameplay to the next level, you should check out this video. It'll teach you all you need to know. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.